Previously on The Level. Hello.
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 I really enjoyed shooting the zombies.
Because of the dark metaphor that causes you to question your own humanity and then...
No, because shooting zombies is fun.
I think the flower bed on the corner of Kenwood and Montgomery has some new geraniums in it.
Oh yeah, you probably noticed because, the light at the intersection, it's cycling a little bit slower than normal.
Guys, do you think you're being a little bit too hyper-local?
XCOM, Mectapod, Squad Site, XCOM.
RE6,
POW,
Resident
Simmons.
Evil 6, zombies.
Biohazard.
So yeah, there's a cutscene at the beginning of Bloodborne where you've got the...
Whoa. Slow down, Cole. Easy on the spoilers.
So I beat the game on normal mode, and I think I'm going to do a challenge run now. I'm going to beat the game standing on my head without using a controller, entirely while recording this podcast without any of you noticing.
Hello.
Hello.
So one of the abilities you get in Dead Island a little later on is you connect...
Spoilers.
Wherever there's a baby crying sick into the night, I'll be there.
So Borderlands is a first-person shooter where you go...
Whoa.
Wherever there's an exam beating up a guy, probably David, I'll be there.
Spoilers, dude. You can't give away a genre like that.
Why, I'll be in the way bosses sound when they ask you to work late, and I'll be in the way Skype calls sound when they drop 6 times in a recording session.
Dude, the game is like 10 years old.
Again, I don't want to know how old it is. That's a spoiler.
And when you've reached 100 episodes and life is good, I'll be there.
I've been Cole Ross.
I was already Dennis Furia.
I'm the artist formerly known as Moneysmith.
I'm going to have been knowing Jala.
And I'm confused.
For April the 10th, 2015, welcome to the 100th level. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Moneysmith.
I'm Jala Prendes.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. And believe it or not, we've done just about 100 of these damn things.
Woo! Oh my God!
Yeah. This is the episode 100 victory lap, as it were. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how good we do this time. We have the benefit of experience in front of us. We are above reproach.
Yep.
Yeah. So as we coast into this, let's have a good time. So what I like to do when we reach these kind of milestones is re-rack just a little bit for any new listeners and kind of explain a little bit of what we do and who we are, right? So,
right.
Yeah, so we're just a general interest video games podcast kind of thing. We talk about what we've been playing, but we are complete industry outsiders, mostly. Anyway, Ben accepted, right?
I'm pretty much an outsider.
Yeah, but I don't want to speak for anybody else. But we started out as a college radio show that I roped everybody into, and we're fortunate enough to still be around and doing this thing, as it were. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't just dream that.
Yeah, the government hasn't shut us down yet, so I figure we're doing something right.
Yeah. Guys, so I've been working on getting us over onto SoundCloud for our hosting, right? Doing a couple things, and I want to give you like some facts here. You know, when somebody has like a milestone birthday, they say, "Oh, you were born before the telephone was invented," stuff like that, right?
Oh God,
this is by no means a complete list. This is only from like the first 30 or so episodes. But how about some notables, right? So the Steam box was announced but hasn't been released over the span of this show. Let's see here.
Surprising no one.
Metal Gear Solid 5 was announced. Hasn't been released.
Oh.
Nothing has happened while we recorded the show.
I was going to say, I have a feeling that's going to be a thing.
Let's see here. We've covered 2 E3s and the release or announcement of all the current gen consoles.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've been talking about XCOM for 2 years. Dennis had a baby. Good.
That we're going to end talking about XCOM.
Yep. XCOM will either rule us or we'll be dead by his hand. Dennis had a baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I got hit by a
that's a
car.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've done a number of dev interviews and book clubs. I wasn't able to get a count, but those have all been things that we've done. So here's another one here. I don't want to dominate the conversation, but our first episode came out on November the 16th of 2012. All right, let's see who we share some birthdays with. Notable birthdays. All right, Lenny Kravitz.
All right, good company.
Maggie Gyllenhaal. Okay, yeah, I'm down.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool. Burgess Meredith.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Burgess
Right on.
Meredith. Yeah, Mickey from Rocky.
Oh,
You gotta eat lightning, craft
okay.
thunder. Yeah. And get this, I was actually shocked at this. Okay, because I don't want to say it's apropos, but it's at least a neat coincidence. Shigeru Miyamoto.
Oh,
way.
cool.
Yeah. You sound sad, man.
Planned. We totally planned that. Yeah.
Absolutely planned. So
Because we are clearly all such fanboys.
I am. I like his games. Like,
That's why we all have Wii U's at our home.
I have a Wii U.
I know.
Right, for like 2
As of last
days.
week, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. When you guys were kids, did you have a 100 day at school?
Oh, yeah.
No, what is that?
No.
Okay, so this
No.
Jala 100 day.
No.
Nothing? Okay. So this might have just been something that David and I, we go way back to small times, right? We knuckleheads from old times.
Yeah,
But like,
say 2 out of 5 is an inflated number here because you guys went to the same school.
yes. So, but the idea was on the 100th school day, like in kindergarten and first grade, we would bring in 100 of an object in order to, I guess, see what 100 of a thing looked like.
Right, and you'd count, like your steps throughout the day until you got up to like 100 steps.
And then you would start over again or your mother would die. Wait.
I don't think that's in Common Core anymore.
Nobody pulled you aside and told you that? Told you, dear God, count your steps?
I think even back then the teachers were gaslighting you, Kole.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm having like a Kaiser Soze moment here. Spoiler. Yeah. But I think at one point I brought in clothespins because they were sold in bags of 100. And then another year I brought in 100 pennies to make $1.
And by that, do you mean a single dollar bill or?
I know. That would have been cool. Just come in, slap it down, say, eat it, teach. Yeah.
And if anyone calls you on it, just slowly cut it into 100 pieces
And then-
staring them down.
And then just blow the confetti in their faces. And then when the dust settles, you're gone. Smoke bomb.
Because you went
Ross
to
out.
federal prison.
Yeah. So, how does everybody feel about 100 episodes?
Considering
Really good.
that I've only been here for a few of them, pretty neat.
Yeah, that's right. The other stat is we're plus one host.
Yeah.
This is the first, well, not the first time we've had 5 people on air, but the first time we've had all 5 of the main people on.
Yeah, 5 hosts
Yay.
might be a new thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's another thing we could say. Over the course of the show, we've had a total of 6 people host, 7.
Well, we've
7
had-
if you count the Lost XCOM episode.
We've
Yeah.
actually had a pretty good cadre of people. We've had Gary on. We've had Tyler from Ninjas versus Podcast.
Yep.
We had
I missed him. I was thinking of Gary as the original 6th person. I meant.
We had we had Zach Johnson from Video Games Hot Dog and Bob Mackey on to talk about Gone Home.
Oh, Gone Home. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
We had Gary on early, like episode 3, because we
Yeah.
had the Butterfield bump early
Yeah,
on.
we got and I still credit that with our success to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We
So-
pay royalties and everything. So.
Yeah, he is wringing us dry.
He's such a corporate guy.
Yeah, whew, he is a shark at the negotiating table. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here for episode 100. Let's I don't know. What do you guys think about moving into the bulk of the show?
Let's do
Do
like
it.
we do.
Well, let's do it.
Not exactly a lightweight.
Let's so we were going to do kind of the aside from that skit at the beginning, the previously on which Dennis wrote. I'm giving you credit for that. Or not
Or blaming me. It depends on how it goes.
Yes.
Over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll see how it goes in edit. Or you observed it over years of us broadcasting together. So. Yeah.
I researched by listening to every episode. How dare you mock me?
God. Why would anybody do that?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if that would fit into the space of a week.
You would be surprised how much podcast can fit into a space of a week.
No, that's probably true.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, again, we're in the 100 episodes. I've listened to none of them.
You've listened to all of the ones you've been on?
Well, yeah, I've never heard, like, for all I know, you guys edit me to just, like, scream profanity.
This is the secret, is that David just has the mute button on both sides and just screams randomly. And it happens to come out as an episode.
Yeah. It is a terrible edit. It's taken years off my life. But yeah, we've got the usual three here with some news, with some multiplayer, and just kind of finishing out with the things we've been playing and the grind. Let's do it.
The brief.
Now it's time for the brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games at this moment. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, I got one. Oh,
You first.
Throwdown.
You first.
Fight.
Dennis.
They have made a working Pac Man arcade cabinet in Minecraft.
This is crazy.
Is ridiculous, and it's kind of that lowest common denominator that all creation systems go to is either Pac Man or Mario 1-1. So I'm sure Mario 1-1 exists somewhere already.
Yeah, I'm
but
positive.
This is, I mean,
Don't forget
this
dicks.
Pac-Man
Don't forget dicks.
Well, that goes without saying. It's really amazing how they've made it work. But
So it's like the hardware of it, correct? Like it's like a computer essentially running it.
Yeah, and it's only the first level, but I mean, the person who made it, this is the really cool thing. The person who made it has no prior programming experience. So just in terms of, if you needed any additional validation of video games as a learning tool, this is it.
Awesome.
Really incredible.
Yeah, it's
like
apparently Minecraft, their tools they have are Turing complete.
Sure.
Yeah, I could believe it. So my experience with Minecraft programming is mostly with the old way, where you had to kind of lay out all of the lines and stuff. And I know that they've really simplified it a little bit by making it so that you can put in kind of discrete logic units. Like here is a block that has just a whole bunch of gates inside of it itself, right? Mm-hmm. I saw kind of some images of it, and I saw a little bit of it in motion. Does he show any of the guts?
I think he documented it. So he kept track of it in the Minecraft forums, and kind of documented his progress there. So you can see this thing as it came together.
Yeah, this is psychotic.
That's actually pretty cool. I know they've my undergrad was in electrical engineering, so some of this stuff's kind of interesting. I know there's been several like digital circuits that have kind of been almost like rediscovered by the popularity of Minecraft.
Like XOR gates or whatever? Like I have no idea about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they basically that's what Minecraft allows you to have, and it's things where these were circuits that were like really, really important in the early like radio days, but that no one's really done anything with for a long time. And then Minecraft comes along, and all of a sudden basic digital logic is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what is it? Like back in the old days, you had to be really kind of conservative with what you put into anything because of how limited resources were. Like complexity was expensive, and that really isn't the case anymore, I guess. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Okay, yeah. And if you're looking to achieve as much as possible with as little effort, I could see that being the case.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, if, trying to achieve as much as possible with as low effort, video games probably are a good target market for achieving that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is, again, I will echo this, psychotic. Has anybody here made anything with the redstone in Minecraft at all?
I've actually never played Minecraft. It's on my list.
That's weird at this point, I think.
I actually have never
really
played
is.
Minecraft either, to
Really?
be honest.
I've
watched
only
it
seen it
played.
be played.
Yeah, yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that I find that hard to believe, actually.
I played that OG Minecraft when it was in like early alpha or beta or whatever you call it.
Yeah,
Did they ever take it out beta?
Yeah, it's out of beta. It's in a point release.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. No, I cajoled you, Dennis, into playing it like back in the DTR days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you were well within your right to do so.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I'm going to do a story, something else that is really popular with the kiddos, you guys. There's apparently going to be a Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it appears that according to the Hollywood Reporter, Warner Brothers has acquired the rights to Five Nights at Freddy's in order to make a game out of this. When talking to the creator, Seth Graham Smith, he said he's looking forward to working to make an insane, terrifying, and weirdly adorable movie.
Okay.
So, I don't know about you guys. Do you spend a lot of time around kids or people with kind of like kids around, like early teens?
Oh no, I was about to say I spent a lot of time.
Are we implying that's the appropriate target market for these games?
Well, here's the thing. Like, among people I work with, they're preteen kids. They all about they Five Nights at Freddy's.
Really?
Like, yeah, like they're asking for like Five Nights at Freddy's like merch for Christmas. They want to dress up as characters from it for Halloween, which seems really inappropriate and a backdoor to a budding nascent crop of new furries. But
I'm gonna go and I don't even know what Five Nights at Freddy's is.
so
We talked about it.
yeah, I've talked about it on the show, and this is where it gets really embarrassing because it comes up, and say, "Oh, my kids love this Five Nights at Freddy's game," and they ask me because I'm the guy who knows about video games. Say, "Oh yeah, that game is too scary to play."
Yeah, it truly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, with the whole kids thing, like it's also kind of weird because like the whole backstory is about like a serial killer dude like slaughtering kids at a Chuck E. Cheese's.
So yeah, something like that. It's haunted animatronics that you kill people by stuffing them into suits and stuff. Ben, you'll recognize this. This is the game where you are the security guard who is watching cameras, and they've got all these spooky mascot guys who are wandering around the restaurant at night, and you have to conserve power in order to stop yourself from being killed. And this is a game that got really popular on YouTube because it is too scary to play, and people love watching videos of people playing video games and screaming at their screens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's have you looked at all about the backstory on the creation? It's actually rather interesting.
I mean, I know that they didn't expect it to get as big as it is.
Well, basically, the guy who created it, had made a number of games, and they had all failed. Mm-hmm. And he just big time fell into depression, and he was kind of, all right, I'm going to make one more game, and like then I'm done. I'm getting out of the industry. Like I'm done with this. I can't take it. Mm-hmm. And his previous game, was a complete bomb. And all the people who played it are like, this game sucks. All of the animation's horrible. Everyone just looks like some sort of creepy animatronic.
Light bulb.
And that's the thing. The other interesting thing is apparently the guy who creates it like has big time like waking nightmares and sleepwalking and stuff like that, and so like after doing this like has a lot of trouble with nightmares about the game and stuff like that.
Well, his entire world is this thing now. They've pumped out like 3 of them over the past 6 months.
Yeah, they're up to 3 of them. Mm-hmm. I stupidly cannot cannot stop watching the Let's Plays despite the fact that they give me nightmares.
So I was like I was playing this in the middle of the summer, right? This past year, and I put it down just because it's just too. It's not too spooky like a spooky, but just the jump scares, right?
Yeah,
I'm not even anti jump scare, but like it's a bit too much.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's kind of interesting because it is straight up jump scare. Like, there's even, people who argue it's not survival horror because the game, for the most part, isn't horror.
I mean, it's horror because it's meant specifically to elicit dread in you, like that.
Sure,
like that.
sure.
That I think is the key emotion that that a horror game is trying to play on, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, and then I was laying in bed and I thought, oh, this is on the App Store. It's $3. Maybe it'll be easier to swallow on my iPad.
Oh,
right?
no, it's the exact opposite.
I know, right? So picture me at 1 a.m., not able to sleep anyway, and holding this bright screen in a dark room about 8 inches from my nose, and then like a screeching hell bear.
Well, especially considering the entire game is you having a tablet.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's also you kind of alluded to this, but like a lot of the fan stuff that's got revived around it or have as built up around it is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I have not been to any convention since
Dragon Con?
Yeah, since Dragon Con, and that was before the game came out, but I just don't see it ending well. Like, this just seems like a recipe for me turning a corner and gut punching someone.
Yeah, you're definitely looking at some bad stuff. This is going to be another Slender Man situation.
Well, 'cause, seriously, like, honestly, it is worth your time. Like, look up Five Nights at Freddy's cosplay, just because, like, the cosplay for it is excellent.
Yeah, it's just a way for furries to walk around, though. Yeah. So that's my story. Jala, I know that you had one.
I do have one, as a matter of fact, and I will put a link. There we go. So, continuing on with my whole bent of last week, where I talked about a national video game museum and trying to bring games into a more accepted light. Here is a new article that's about a video game company called Akili that has decided to begin the lengthy series of trials with the FDA to get their game, Project Evo, approved for medical treatment purposes. If they succeed, it will be the first video game to have been approved. Their game is backed by a team of neuroscientists who would advise that during play, as the gamer improves at the game, he or she is teaching the brain to focus and ignore distractions. It's already completed 8 or 9 clinical trials for things like ADHD, depression, and autism. And the trials and the paperwork to get it approved by the FDA will take about 4 years to complete. But for drugs, it's 10 years, so it's actually not nearly as lengthy as it is for drugs. The director of IT strategy at health insurance provider Cigna says that he fully anticipates games being used to teach patients about conditions, treatments, and as treatments themselves within a few years. The goal of games as treatment is to reduce or even eliminate the current dependency on medication. Particularly with all of the different health reforms and stuff going on recently here in the U.S., that could become a very critical thing in the future because, cost of healthcare is insane. Mm-hmm. Should Project Evo succeed, Akili has 4 more games planned that they didn't name or tell any specifics about, but they have 4 more games planned for the same kind of purposes of medical treatment.
Yeah.
So...
This is an interesting topic if you dig into it, because there's a history of this, right?
Oh, yeah. There's been a bunch of different games that have been used unofficially, but to actually get approved by the FDA would be a really big, solid step for video games coming into, not just, the programming camps and stuff like that, but like actually in Medicaid, medical society itself. So,
yeah. Yeah, there's like Captain Novolin that was meant to teach kids about like diabetes and stuff. But like even down to like there are all kinds of games in hospitals, right? Not just because of Child's Play or whatever, but actually as like initiatives for kids because giving them stuff to do helps them recover better. Like, yeah.
See, although I feel like there's a lot of difference between using a game for educational purposes or just for like psychological like coping and learning skills versus arguing that it can actually be used to treat mental conditions.
Well, I know that there are concerns about that kind of a thing, but to tell you quite honestly, I had a friend who had a type of severe head trauma. I don't remember exactly what the condition was called, and he was an old Guild Wars 2 friend, and he said that when he played the game, that was actually the way, because he had very little residual, like, recent memory. He had long-term, but not recent memory. He couldn't keep his thoughts together. And so the way that he actually ended up training his brain back was to play Guild Wars 2 and become a super uber craft guy who knew where all the crafting materials were and what everything was needed, for each individual thing, and then started becoming like uber craft guy. And this guy knew all the maps, knew everything, and he was our go-to guide for everything. And he had told me that at one point when we were just chit-chatting, just, one-on-one. And so I've actually known people who have had that. They've also had studies of older people who, and I've met a few of these too, and MMOs and things like that they're older retired people who play MMOs and things like that in order to keep their brain sharp, because when you don't use your brain, it starts to, just lapse and basically become mush, more or less, to be very simple about it. And so to keep their brain fresh, they would play MMOs and get like that constant interaction and whatever to help develop and keep their brain focused and curb the senility and whatnot. So I've actually come across people who have used games to that purpose, including someone who had a severe head trauma. Now, is it going to work in every case? I don't know. I mean, that's something where they would have to,
I guess I just have a bit of a chip on my shoulder because I'm used to people who, oh man, you don't need big pharma for ADHD. You need, new age Himalayan homeopathic meditation, man.
Well, I mean, I will be the first person to step up and defend meditation as a.
Oh no, I'm a huge fan of meditation, and meditation definitely helps with ADHD. But so does getting the medication you need.
Oh, definitely, for sure.
Oh, yeah, but the whole point and purpose is that, with the cost of healthcare being as it is, if you can't afford the medication the game helps definitely. You, then you should, it's not going to, not even medications are 100% in everybody's case. And then, too, you've got problems such as side effects and whatnot to deal with. So if you can use some combination, be it meditation or a video game or whatever, with your medication to help to where you don't rely on the medication, so exclusively, then that would help out a lot for a lot of people who cannot afford the health care.
Definitely. Yeah, I guess more what I'm saying. I totally agree with you. I think you've got a good point that I was kind of missing. I meant more, I don't know, my concern would be on some of these things,
People just swearing off the medication and saying, I don't need that because I have a game.
Well, not even that, but people, there's already a bit of a degree to which people tend to not think of mental health things as, real or actually being diseases. And I feel like being related to video games, which is something that people tend to think of as, those are just, things for kids. Those aren't real. I feel like could help advance or kind of help hurt the progress to view mental. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, what kind of stigmas will this inadvertently be pushing?
Right, exactly. I don't think it's actually bad in itself or anything. I just that I don't know.
Well, according to the guy at Cigna, he's talking about using it to educate patients about this and that. And given the fact that so many adults and middle-aged and older people that I know play stuff like Angry Birds or Fruit Farmer or Farmville or whatever the hell, on their tablets or on their Facebook page or whatever. Like, you don't even want to know how many older people send me stupid Facebook game things all the time. I am sick of it. Anyway, the point is,
I really want a Farmville Angry Birds crossover where I just launch explosive birds into Farmville.
At the farms, yeah. It's like Bomberman. Anyway, so yeah. But anyway, the whole point that I was going to make was that, with all of these other types of games that adults do play, yes, they're playing it for fun to burn more of their hours of their day. But I mean, if they're using that towards educating themselves about, something health related and starting to see that introduced industry wide, not just as a medication or a treatment or whatever, but as, educational material and things like that, then the esteem that games will have overall will rise because of, it's just going to submerge everything and be everywhere.
That's true. I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, just this goes hand in hand with like research about like neuroplasticity and stuff like that. Like, there's there's something to be said for these, whichever pathways you use are going to be beefed up. Is what they're finding, and games are kind of custom engineered to in order to spit out as much dopamine as possible and make that happen. So yeah, turning it to the right way. What I'll be curious about is the reason that medication is so expensive is because the regulatory process, I'm not anti-regulation, but just the process of developing it and testing it in order to make sure it won't kill people, which is a valuable thing, makes it so that they have to charge a lot to recoup that. I'm going to be very curious what this thing costs, because I very much doubt that it's going to be a 99-cent app with in-app purchases.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then how do you protect it from like shovelware? Because like you said, if you got to spend 10 years testing something to make sure it works and it's safe, you don't want some Me Too developer to use the same bit of code with a different skin on it.
Well, or maybe.
Well, to be fair, that's actually an advantage of this, because if someone did that, they would be. I mean, that would be a major crime.
Yeah.
I mean, that would basically be selling fake medicine.
Yeah, that's super weird, because really you can't copyright a game, kind of like, or you can't patent a game, right? Like, you can't say, hey, this particular set of rules. I mean, it'll be copyright infringement if you kind of take this and put it over there, but that's kind of the developer's prerogative to take something else and put other stuff over top of it. And this isn't the forum to talk about software patent laws or whatever, but there isn't very much stopping somebody from looking at that and spreading it out and cloning this and taking whatever principles they've found. Yeah, that has really, really profound implications, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well,
But
the last thing I would
wouldn't
want
the issue
is
be, though, that person can't claim that it has medical effects?
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, is that going to be enough for the people who spent 10 years developing it, or are you going to see that kind of medical attitude of protection start to work its way into games, which I think would absolutely be bad for creativity and innovation in the industry. I doubt it'll actually go that way, but
this is also assuming too that the game will be fun to play.
Yeah,
like,
the kids will want to.
It could be torturous.
Hey kids, it's your favorite new breakfast cereal, just like your Captain's Crunch and your Charms Lucky. But it's brown. It's brown. I can see the plants inside of it. Eat it, God damn it.
No, actually, the article does say that the people who have played it in their testing have found that they really enjoy it, and they'll sit there and play it addictively to where they're starting to get it to where it'll auto shut off after 20 minutes, so they won't keep playing.
Yeah.
So,
See,
so you only
I'm
get
just
your one
hoping-
treatment a day.
I'm just hoping they manage to license Dr. Mario.
I'm down.
Well, anyway, the whole point, though, is, this will be several years before we actually see any of this come to light, whether or not it actually does get FDA approved.
Sure.
And then once one does, and that actually puts its foot in the door for other things, then the whole, industry at that point will be a completely different field. So.
cool.
Yeah. Ben, how about you?
Yeah. So I have a couple different things to choose from. One is a Bloodborne story, but I'm going to ignore that because I do not play that game. So the one I'm going to bring up is it's a story about Titanfall 2. And so the first part of the story is the fact that they're making a Titanfall 2, which may or may not be cool. I don't think any of us has played Titanfall, or I don't think any of us own Titanfall, correct?
No.
No.
All right.
Looks good, though.
I have seen it played it briefly. Yeah, I mean, if I had an Xbox, that would be a game that I would play. That would be my destiny, essentially. But yeah, so they're making a second one, but then the news story is the fact that they're going to have a more traditional campaign for it. So apparently they agree with the sentiment that the integration of the single player and the multiplayer might not be the best experience for the player. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's also going to be multi-platform, right?
Yeah, confirmed multi-platform.
Yes.
Which I think that came out pretty much as soon as the initial one was released.
Oh, no, we're not going to do this again, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Was there a reason the first one was not multi-platform?
Publisher dollars. Like, yeah.
Okay, so this is basically the thanks for the money, we're going to actually sell this to people now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what the situation was with Respawn. It might have been they might have needed to do it since that's their first game out of the gate. I don't know if that required more money or I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I mean, it's a golden age for sequels.
I'm excited because these are the people who made Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was really, for as much as I don't have a tremendous amount of goodwill towards the Modern Warfare team, like especially compared to you, it was kind of weird to enter this console generation without really a solid leader in that. Mm-hmm. For Respawn to just kind of like burn away into steam immediately. Was a little bit disheartening. You at least like to have a leader of the pack that you can huck rocks at from behind, Yeah. And let's round it out with David. How about you?
Sure. I've got one. Apparently, there's a story that NBA 2K14, which is a horrible name, their online support ended at the end of March.
What?
And the actual story is about the fact that the company claimed that you'd still be able to play your career mode offline on the next-gen consoles, but you can't. So that's what the story is actually about. But I feel like the real story is the fact that they've shut down online support 16 months after the game was released.
Mm-hmm. So this is NBA 2K14, not MBA 2K14.
Did I say MBA?
Like, so these people are their degrees are safe. It's their hoops that are in trouble.
But this, among people who like basketball games, this is pretty well regarded, right?
Yeah, it's
great. Not this is some throwaway that no one played. This is the leader of that pack.
Mm-hmm. Whereby leader of that pack, you mean the only game, and therefore they can get away with this. Yes,
there's backyard basketball. They still make those.
Yeah, it's super weird, right? Because NBA Live hasn't been a thing since 2010. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Huh.
Don't you mean 2K10?
Yes, I do. No, but like NBA 2K14 is like legit a good game. That was one of the craziest things, too, because that was a bigger launch than most other games you would think would have a big launch. Mm-hmm. When you worked retail.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. It
just that franchise or that game specifically?
No, I mean just that franchise.
I didn't think you were still working retail.
Yes, you're still moonlighting.
Yeah, I'm still yes, because I have all the time in the world.
You have a little bat phone that rings every now and again.
I'll still have people like when I go home for the holidays or something, talk to family members and say, man, yeah, you should really just like, are you still working for GameStop like nights and weekends? Just earn a little bit of extra scratch on the side. It's like, okay, do you think I just don't exist when you see me? Like when you don't see me? Do you think I'm just sitting in a room looking at a fucking wall? You dolt.
Until someone calls, dude.
Yeah. So back to the story. They pulled online support 16 months. This is something EA does pretty aggressively, like pulling the servers down on their shit.
See, that seems really, really questionable to me. Particularly, I don't know. I don't see any justification for 16 months.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's ridiculous for sure. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like to. I don't know what it looks like to have them be so aggressive about cycling people up to the most recent one, because that also has to be all like across a console divide, right? Like, are there people who bought a PlayStation 4 and their NBA 2K14 and are waiting for 2K15 to drop in price who are just left high and dry right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a thing. See, that's why I'm kind of white. Like, I kind of remember NBA 2K14 being, in some of the bundles, this past holiday.
Yeah.
So I feel like, there's something inherently sketchy about that.
It's hostile. It's hostile to the consumer at the very least.
Right, and I mean, I feel like one take-home message is that monopolies are a bad idea.
Yeah,
but I don't know. This almost strikes me as something. I would almost feel like the consoles, all these games, have to be certified or whatever. Like, that's something they should almost step in and put in a minimum length that servers have to be up.
I don't know, that gets really messy, because which body oversees that? Who actually watches that to make sure, and what kind of penalties are in place?
I feel like it'd be fairly easy. I mean, it's just simple breach of contract if it does happen.
Yeah, but the developers and the publishers hold all the cards in that equation.
I think the question that we need to ask is this actually hurting anyone? Like, what % of people are still playing 2K14 online? Because it could vary. I mean, the age where you bought 2 or 3 games a year and those were your prized possessions, which you played into the ground and 100%ed, that's kind of over.
Except I feel like the problem with this is, I don't know, part of the problem I see with this is the fact that sports games are famous for not innovating. Mm-hmm. And this seems kind of like a very cynical, like, why would we innovate when we can literally force people to buy our new product?
Yeah,
they're innovating on how to make people buy the next game.
Yeah, it's business innovation. Fucking just end it all. I'm thinking about this here. We're looking at just over a decade, or right around a decade of the monopoly on football games, right? Because NFL 2K5 was the last non-Madden in NFL game to be released.
Wow.
Yeah. So, who's to say like what's to cause that? But Madden is not the event that it was before.
Bring back arena football.
The XFL.
Yes.
Let's make a flag football video game. Yeah.
Well, you actually have to call it football because the football is protected as well.
Yeah. I'm like, we're gonna go bankrupt because of all the times we said the words NFL. We have to pay them for every instance. Yeah, that's kind of messed up. Like, it doesn't matter if it hurts only a couple of people. Who knows what they could have achieved by just scaling it back, as opposed to just cutting the cord, pulling the plug. Think about what it's cost them in terms of goodwill alone for people who pay attention to this. We may be blowing it out of proportion, though.
Wait, I feel like that inherently assumes that anyone could possibly have goodwill for EA.
This isn't EA. This is 2K.
Okay.
Yeah, EA's basketball game was NBA Live, and they stopped that after 2010 because it was getting so bad.
Wait, 2K did this? That's the publisher of XCOM. I'm boycotting XCOM now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. It's like 2K typically does good games, so
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to make sure. Yes, it is actually 2K Sports, but it's a division of 2K games. Yeah. So you guys are safe.
So which came first? Were they named 2K after their dumb naming convention for sports, or did the dumb naming convention for sports come with the name?
That was actually 2K Games was founded in 2005, whereas the 2K games have been around since the Dreamcast. So if you look at NFL 2K. Here, that was actually published by or developed by Visual Concepts, but published by Sega Sports. So eventually, it was taken over by actual 2K games. It appears. Yeah, yeah, good games too. Those Dreamcast ones, except for the baseball game, you had no control over your outfield guys in the baseball games. Yeah. So if you were playing, if you were, on defense, if you were at the batting team, you only had control over the pitcher. When the ball was hit, they just had your outfielders automatically run to where it was going to land, and it was determined by the stats. So there was no way for you to determine who caught what or who threw where.
That's literally a third of your team. Good job.
Yeah, good job, guys.
I don't know. I could see that being a legitimate way to do the game if you did it right.
Not really. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want...
I mean, I guess if it was Baseball Manager, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What if you controlled the wind and you just...
Or no, you put spin on the ball like you do in golf.
There you go.
I kind of like the Control the Wind. It would be like MLB God Edition.
Yeah, it's developed by the guys who made Journey.
That could get really dark, though. You could give members of the other team a heart attack to. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, you can't have God without smiting, right?
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, you guys. Let's jump in here. This is where we ask you some questions, and it is our kind of community interaction segment. Dennis, what is the question that we asked our listeners?
Yeah, I tried to pick something with some gravitas for level 100. So we went with what single game has had the biggest impact on you? This could be either just impact within gaming or impact on you as a person in general.
Yep, so I will go ahead and lead us off here. We had a space reserved for Ryan Sherman Grimes, who perpetually was missing our cutoffs. But instead, I will jump to this next one because Ryan got in a little bit later. Spoilers. But instead, we have Carlo Chitazinho Martinez. I hope I did not butcher that because that is an awesome name in print. He says, Journey is the only game that has moved me to tears. It is a fine allegory for life and probably the only game that I consider to be quote-unquote art.
awesome.
Man, if I listed every game that moved me to tears, we'd be here for hours, you guys.
We'd have to hand you a box of tissues.
Just
all the memories.
Yeah.
But luckily, I have this stack of index cards documenting all of the games that moved me to
the
tears.
stack of smeary, tear-soaked. I want to take this opportunity at level 100 to remind everybody that I am a weepy man. Yeah, I cried at Journey too. Who else here cried at Journey?
I dude missed it.
Dude missed it. Yeah, that's the word we say, isn't it?
I think I was more moved by the happy part than the sad part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which part's the happy part?
Happy part after the sad part.
Wait, you play an animate rug. How can it possibly be sad?
Yeah.
Have you seen 90% of Pixar shorts?
Yeah. 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 Oh, man, you haven't played Journey, David?
I have not.
Holy shit.
Did we? I thought we did a bonus level on that. We should do a bonus level on that. Play that game. Come over. I will give you that game to play.
Jesus.
Yeah, really.
I'm disappointed.
Oh,
Still take it from Kole.
I will sit
It's 100 episodes, but you're out.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I would say I cry at the happy part, too. I cry at happy and sad. Good.
Hopefully this doesn't like say too much about your interpretation of the game, but I'm trying to remember what the happy part is of the game.
Do you want me to? Well, shit. I don't want to ruin this for anybody. On the show.
You should play the game again so you can rediscover it.
What we learned from the skit is that Ben does not want spoilers,
even for games that he's played. Ben, this is getting crazy.
So is the happy part at the end?
Yes.
Okay. Then that may or may not be a happy part, depending upon how you interpret it.
But even still, it's apotheosis.
That is 100%. Yeah, this is 100% black and white for certain a happy part.
Well, all right, let's talk about the game after the podcast and
save it for the
bottom
bonus episode.
Yeah. We gotta crank through these, you guys.
Yeah, let's go. All right.
Yeah.
Do not skip Ryan again, okay?
Sorry, Ryan.
I worry about him. Jala, what's Glenn say?
Glenn first says, "Congrats on 100 episodes." Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you,
Although
Glenn.
I wasn't here for most of them, but that's okay. I'll thank you anyway. Since I played Chrono Trigger as a teenager, no game has captured the feelings of companionship and adventure quite like it. That was the first game that made me grieve for the characters and taught me it's okay to embrace emotion in fiction.
Yeah.
Very cool. I actually ended up playing that game later on after I'd already passed the SNES phase. Like I had actually already had a Sega CD and played other games by that point, and had a Saturn and had gone on. And then I got a SNES and played that game after the fact. So the impression that it had on me was lesser for that reason. But if I had played it when it first came out and it was, in its prime, I'm sure it would have had a stronger effect for sure. I did like that game and I played it a lot. And we already know that Kole and his Chrono Cross have his own opinions about that.
No, I love I love the whole series. Chrono Trigger, Radical Dreamers, Chrono Cross. Like that's all good. Yeah.
I just had to pick at you.
What's that?
I just had to pick at you. That's all.
That's you pick at me by saying, "Oh, I know Kole likes this series."
Yeah, exactly. I know you
How
like
dare
that
you.
specific game because you have been known to have mentioned that you prefer the Chrono Cross over the Chrono Trigger. So
Well, prefer doesn't
for
mean
reasons.
it's not it's not
no,
it's
it's not
mutually
knocking his
exclusive.
preference. I know.
Yeah. Well, no, I do take exception to Glenn, but that's neither here nor there. That's for him and I to work out. All I'm saying, Glenn, is you know what you did. Ben, what's David say?
David says, original NES Mario Brothers. My dad bought himself an NES to give him something to do while watching me. He knew I was enthralled, but had no idea how close I was watching him. Before I was 2, I could beat 1-1, and my gaming journey began. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to piggyback on this one. This is not mine, but I think I also grew up with a NES, and I think I could beat 1-1 maybe when I was like 3 or so. So yeah, I could totally relate.
I had an Atari back when I was itty bitty, and I used to play some kind of blaster warrior type game with my dad on that, and that's about the only game I can remember him ever playing. And then of course we had Mario and Duck Hunt, and that was on the NES, and moved on from there. But I don't remember anything much about the Atari other than Q*bert being confusing and weird, and the blaster game that I liked, and that's all.
Yeah.
So. Oh, and Pitfall.
Yeah, I probably watched World 1-1 be beat so many times before I ever touched a controller because my brother was a real tyrant with the video game consoles. So
Didn't you also default to reading the guide, or is this Dennis? I can't remember, because then you could know how to play the game.
this might have been Dennis.
All right,
I love me some game manuals.
Yeah.
all right.
David, what's Noah say?
Noah says, congratulations on the centennial episode. Well done, all. When you say centennial, it makes it sound, real official.
sound all official like.
Yeah, exactly. To answer the question, The Kingdom of Loathing. I started playing in 2009 because of the excellent writing. Eventually, I started interacting with the game's mechanics and came to appreciate it on a design level. But even while I'm taking a hiatus, I keep listening to the weekly dev podcast, and that's where the impact comes from. It's personally inspiring to listen to a group of talented artists in the process of creating an ever-evolving project.
Yeah, there's probably a pretty good claim that Kingdom of Loathing has had a huge effect on my life personally. Yeah. But I mean,
See,
good.
Oh, well, for me, I got involved with Guild Wars and started chit-chatting with some of the Guild Wars devs and some of the community people who ran, independent websites and stuff. So I didn't get into Kingdom and Loathing, but I had something kind of similar like that where, just keeping involved with the devs for a long time kept me going even when I wasn't playing the game. Mm-hmm. So.
See, yeah, I don't know. I've not actually had the same degree of dev interaction, but I'd say Kingdom of Loathing itself, that's, I don't know. I'd almost describe it as, it's almost a hobby or something. I've just been playing it so freaking long.
Yeah. What was it? Kirsten back in high school in Academic Challenge was like, you guys have to jump up on this.
Yeah.
And she also got me into something awful too.
Really?
Yeah. I need to send her an instant message about that. But I never would have thought back when I was a sophomore in high school playing this funny web game that I would A, have a podcast network, and B, meet these guys, and C, have them send a huge number of listeners our way. There are some responses here that say, "Hey, I found out about you guys because of the podcast and stuff." And it's been awesome getting to know Zach and Riff and Kevin and all those guys.
Yeah.
So that's. I would say that is actually a huge impact, and I'm not just sucking dick on guys that I know listen.
So I think that in a way kind of plays into mine in that I feel like a lot of mine it's sort of more maybe not any individual game, but a game that was really important for some part of my life, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So Kingdom of Loathing was huge for me. I played it a lot in high school, but my early years and my undergrad, that was just that was something I was just all the time when I was waiting for things to compile or whatever in the computer lab. Mm-hmm. I'd say kind of some of the others. Probably once I started doing the level and doing co-op gaming with Jala and company, that was definitely huge.
Yay!
If I was going to get all serious, I'd say in terms of games that actually affected me, probably would have to be Spec Ops: The Line, with Gone Home being a close second.
Yeah. And when you say more seriously, those had an impact on the way you view the world, or
yeah, exactly. Games that really made you think and reevaluate things and stuff like that.
Yeah, think about it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Those are all those are all fantastic answers. Dennis, what does Russell say?
Russell says, this is a great question. If you had said favorite game, I could start saying things without thinking. But biggest impact, I'm not sure. World of Warcraft is probably the biggest impact. My older brother was pretty abusive when we were younger. After not speaking for a few years, he invited me to visit him and his partner. Turns out his partner was a huge WoW fan. Me and his partner bonded, and I ended up visiting almost every weekend to hang out and play WoW while slowly fixing my relationship with my brother.
Oh, that's a sweet story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks for sharing that, Russell.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I don't know that there's anything we can say about that without reducing its impact or being crass. So yeah, that has been a nice little bright warm spot of my day.
Appreciate the earnestness, yeah.
Yeah. I'll pick up here with Ryan Sherman Grimes here at last. Woo! Yeah. I know it's been talked nearly to death, but Dark Souls changed me. No matter what I'm playing, when I get frustrated or stuck, I take a step back and a deep breath, and I say to myself, it's just Dark Souls. Forget it, Jake. It's Lord Trent. He didn't say that. I'm editorializing there. Ryan finishes out, I'm not sure why, but it helps.
I like that he says this even if it's not Dark Souls that he's playing.
Yep. Well, there's probably a case to be made for that, and I might as well throw in with mine here. If I had to say, I'm being a parody of myself by throwing Dark Souls in there, but it is an excellent exercise in contemplating the impermanence of things. To a certain extent, and it's a little bit of a meditation on persistence and you being able to retry things and what you can eventually hone yourself, things that look impossible, all that kind of stuff. Leaving aside the more practical impact it's had on me, which is I started playing Dark Souls and, started doing these podcasts really in earnest at the same time in late 2011. And, that my relationship with those games has kind of evolved alongside this new way that I have of, playing games with the mind towards paying attention and, all these kind of things to be able to talk to talk about them later on. I feel like I'm sounding a little bit like a moron with this.
No.
But yeah, Dark Souls
You
is...
sound like
yeah.
you have reached enlightenment.
I mean...
And I'm not trying to poke fun. I mean, seriously, it does.
I can wax douche about that for a while, and though I'm I'm as far away from enlightenment as you can be, it is definitely a game that man, I feel like such a douche here, kind of changes the way you think about video games, and it applies a little bit to life, but yeah.
I feel like it's kind of appropriate for like the 100th episode, but it was kind of funny, why I was, kind of ragging on Bloodborne last week. So I was thinking, I remember when you first, were on, for your what I've been playing about Dark Souls, and you hated it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought that I had a sympathetic, receptive ear because Dennis, by that point, you had already gotten most of the way through Demon Souls and rage quit, right?
Yeah,
because
I hated Demon Souls.
because of 5.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a thing. To give a self-stereotypical answer, I would say probably Final Fantasy 4/2 because it was really the first narrative-driven game that I played at a very young age. That taught me that reading and stories and games were not necessarily mutually exclusive from each other. Yeah. And then other than that, Guitar Hero or Rock Band, which kind of led to me learning to play instruments and stuff, and using music as a kind of a secondary side skill that I share with no one, but regardless enriches my life in some way. Yeah,
but only mine.
Yeah, only mine. Exactly. Yeah. Let's see here, Jala. Why don't you hit us up with who's next?
Moose says,
Hey, man.
Gotta agree with Russell. Great question for the Centennial episode. All this Centennial business. That's awesome. Anyway, well, I could think of plenty of games that fit the question. The biggest impact would probably have to be the original Deus Ex. It came out near the end of high school for me, and it really helped form some of the main things I enjoy. Near future stories about body enhancements and the ramifications of what that entails, as well as realizing, unlike what the tech singularity people think, that if such advances occur, only a small fragment of people will get to try out those advances, likely to oppress others. Deus Ex also gave me a healthy distrust of people in power, society in general, the Illuminati, in case that wasn't obvious. On the plus side, the 3 old Deus Ex CDs I have make a great tinfoil-esque hat to keep the brainwaves out.
Or to keep the brainwaves in.
Yep.
Think about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Deus Ex is a really good entry to cyberpunk. Like it is. It is a William Gibson story writ large, except without the crazy cool surfing around inside a computer world. Yeah,
but it has the sunglasses and trench coat, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes that's what makes cyberpunk. Yeah, Jala, how about you? Have you already given yours? I forget.
Oh, no, I've spouted out commentary, but no, what other game could it be but the one that I try to sneak into every single episode that I'm on? Mm-hmm. Lunar, Eternal Blue, the sequel to Lunar, the Silver Star. This game affected me so much, in fact, that I actually wrote a blog post about it once. Here, I have put a link. The first thing that I have to say about it for those who have actually played the game or some rendition of it is that the original Sega CD version is far less preachy than the PlayStation remakes that came out in time for Kole to play. So the Sega CD games were a little bit different, and in certain respects pretty, like the characters were far more complicated in the original version. They actually dumbed it down to the point where Zenobia from the original game is this evil sorceress person. She ended up getting split into 3 characters because they thought that her personality was too complex, and instead of just adding more dialogue dialogue or, like gameplay elements. They just made her into 3 different people, so each facet had its own personality. So that was unfortunate. So I still love the original Sega CD versions the best, even though the remakes were good. They came out in 1993 and 95 on the Sega CD, and so I played them when I was 11 and 13, which is a completely impressionable time of life. To top it off, my older sister, my only sibling, had moved out, and we didn't know where she was, and we moved from Florida to Texas, and my dad wasn't living with us because he was trying to sell the house. We lived with my grandparents, and my grandmother had Alzheimer's. It was a barrel of laughs. So, and then I was also in a school where there were lots of cliquey people, and I was losing contact with all my friends in Florida. So, like, this game, which has a very positive tone and has all the, Japanese anime tropes for shonen anime, of like friendship and, your power, your personal power to do things and to shape your future and things like that. All of these things that they try to impress on young boys over in Japan with that kind of anime series is in, all of that is in this game. It doesn't have, fancy graphics. It doesn't have, revolutionary gameplay or anything like that. Standard gameplay, standard, graphics for that era. The main point was that they had a lot of animated cutscenes and a lot of recorded voice dialogue. But just when it hit me was such that I needed something right at that point to try to keep me afloat, and it really fit the bill and impacted me so much that, it stuck with me for years. There have been plenty of other games that I played a lot of, such as things like Guild Wars or any of the Elder Scrolls games, particularly Morrowind, and whatnot thereafter. But that one game probably was the most formative and kind of echoes a lot of my personal sentiments. Yeah. So
there's something that pops up a lot, and we've definitely talked about this on Watch Out for Fireballs to a large extent, but JRPGs as a palliative for either hard times or depression.
Yeah.
Like there's something about making a bunch of very small, somewhat inconsequential decisions, and having something to do with your hands and a world to escape into. Like during one of the hardest times in my life, like between like the summer of 2011, when I was like approaching a year of not having a job. It's like, oh yeah, Breath of Fire 3 and Final Fantasy 12. Like, let's just dive into this as much as possible. So I definitely have sympathy for what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and then, too, just the characters I got attached to, and I laughed and I cried at all the different parts, particularly in Lunar Eternal Blue, which is the sequel. So, like, in that particular game, I was really attached to the cast and everything a lot more than even in the original game. So, but just having that feeling of having an attachment and, having good stuff win out in the end when you're in a rocky situation and, can't really see when things will even out and you're like, middle school age. Yeah, that's a perfect time.
Yeah. Nice. Let's see here. Ben, what does Franz say?
Franz says, for me, it has to be Planescape Torment. I got it in high school, and it made me set the alarm at 5:30 every morning so I could squeeze in 1 or 2 game hours before going to school. A game that can make a high schooler get out of bed early is truly something special.
Man, you were on some next level shit, because that's the secret, right? You don't stay up late. You wake up early. Yeah, that's
You don't sleep. That's the secret.
Well, yeah, but like
that's what I did when I had Morrowind.
You don't sleep and you get up early.
It's a fool's
and
errand.
You skip school.
It's a fool's errand, right? Because you think I'm gonna eat my dessert first. I'm gonna play as much of this game and go to sleep, and that way I'll wake up for school. But waking up at the last minute for an obligation? No, you don't do that. No, you wake up for the thing you want to do.
But then there's a time limit on it.
Well,
so
yeah,
the night is infinite.
But it motivates. Well, no,
categorically false statement. But
the night is infinite. Okay, Batman.
Quick, somebody put him on a game console.
Yeah, but yeah. So anything that taught you that lesson at such a young age. Let's hear, Ben. How about you? What impacted your noggin?
All right, I know the question was for one, so I have 3 runners-up for small reasons and then 1 winner.
I did the same thing. Don't worry.
All right, so the runners-up, Rock Band for similar reasons, because and I think the first time I played it was at your house, Kole, but it taught me to play drums, or it got me interested in playing drums, so I'm very appreciative of that. Halo and GoldenEye for social aspects, like being able to socialize with people through video games. Those were like 2 games that did that really well, and so I'm very appreciative of that. Knights Old Republic for the exposure to different higher level problems that most games don't have, but they have so many in there. So some that I just wanted to throw out, they have Prisoner's Dilemma in there, they have Towers of Hanoi in there, they have series and sequences, they have cryptography when you're trying to translate a language of the stowaway. So there's like a lot of really good problems in that game that I was really appreciative for. Yeah. But the game that I think has... What? Yeah. But I think the game that has had the biggest impact as far as like how I perceive things is Braid. So Curveball. So the thing that I really liked about that is that drawing the analogy of playing a video game to its completion is like being Oppenheimer making a nuclear bomb. So that's a pretty striking and condemning metaphor, which kind of made me reanalyze what's happening when you play a video game. And also the timing of it, as far as like that game coming out kind of before the storm of pay-to-play bite-sized games coming out was kind of prescient. So yeah,
I still feel like it misunderstands Oppenheimer.
I mean, I read it as more of the dangers of obsession, right?
Yeah.
Again, Braid, another game that moved me to tears. So guys, I think there might be something wrong with me.
Nah,
there's something wrong with everyone else.
Yeah, that's right. Let's take refuge in that. That hard little kernel at the tippy tip core of the world. Huh. Yeah.
Wait, how can the core have a tip?
I can't be
Core daddy.
Core daddy. Coreless daddy. Yeah, I can't be held accountable for everything I say. Okay.
All metaphors break down at a point.
Yeah. I just some just break down much sooner.
Although I do have a slight aside about Kole and Weepy Kole. When you guys were talking about Dear Esther, and he was like, Kole, you were talking about how misty-eyed you got and stuff during that game. Like, I played that game, and I didn't like it the first time I tried it, and then I played it again, and I got through the end, and I'm like, okay, it's not my game, but I can see where somebody else would like it. And I didn't have any particular dislike for anything going on, but I'm listening to it and going, how melodramatic. Oh, my God, really? And that was my reaction. I was not misty whatsoever. I'm looking at it like, oh, God, please shut up. Where's the end of the damn game? So,
yeah.
Which is interesting because I'm usually touchy-feely, lovey, cuddly, sniffles, but no.
It's a different. I
guess it's just
like different things. Like the thing that made me cry and Gone Home was not the thing that made everybody else cry.
See, I was like sniffly about Gone Home, and I was like, why am I sniffly about this one, but I don't care about Dear Esther at all.
It's different kinds of stories, and there's also the fact that like Dear Esther, the story changes depending on what it's like a mix and match kind of thing. So I may have gotten one that spoke
that
more
was
to
better.
But like
better.
but I'll watch like American movie and just be like, oh, he's got no talent, but he works so hard. Or Synecdoche in New York, like most people are like, what the fuck's happening? I'm like, oh, he gets it. Yeah.
That's a hard movie right there.
Yeah. And it took me a while to be comfortable saying this out loud, but I will own it. I will own it by saying I will cry at a game or at an inexplicable thing.
Well, what it caused me to do is go, okay, both you and Gary and and Dennis too, I think, and whoever, like everybody else who played this game was just talking about sniffles. A dude missed it, and I'm like, okay.
See, and
I don't see it.
You just get what, David?
I just skipped the game.
Oh, yeah. You pressed the skip button. I thought there was just a walk.
and Journey and Minecraft.
Yeah. Like, are you like doing the same show as us, David?
I'm trying to break down on Cole's flowchart or Cole's flowchart, Dance's flowchart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. David, what's Franz say? Oh wait, no, we did Franz. What's Brian say?
Brian says, "This is hard, but I think the answer is World of Warcraft. I started playing a month after I met my then girlfriend, now wife, and suggested she play too, as a way to spend time together during the week. We live 2.5 hours apart. Contrary to her expectations, based on university friends, I didn't get obsessed with it and break up with her to play it more. At that point, are you really playing World of Warcraft?" But I go on. And it played together through our engagement and our marriage. When we moved to Japan, I used WoW as one way to keep in touch with friends from home. I haven't played in years, but I still talk to a lot of people who were in my guild, and have met a few of them in person when they happen to be nearby. Chrono Trigger and Morrowind definitely fired up my imagination more than WoW, but they didn't have as big of an impact on my life.
Yeah, there's a theme here of games that get you closer to people who are important to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also we've had several people say World of Warcraft, and I think we might. Do we have any more? But I feel like MMOs kind of get a bad rap that people don't recognize the degree to which they really do get you closer to people.
Oh, yeah, I met my best friend that way, so, that's kind of a thing.
I would question now, though, they've realized to make them accessible, it's way, way easier to solo those kinds of games than it was in the past.
Yeah, although I'm not sure that... I don't know, like, I very rarely grouped with my friends on these games, but I think there's a lot more, like, shared experience and...
Well, there's also a lot of higher level stuff you can't do unless you happen to have a group. So even if you can solo average areas, if you want to do, say, the dungeons in Guild Wars 2 or some of the special events or the world versus world, you definitely have to group up with some people. So,
like, that's why I'll wax nostalgic about EverQuest, right?
Right.
Like, I treated that like a chat room with orcs.
Yeah.
But like I was in a guild and they were helping me along. The game was secondary, and what was primary was like I didn't really have an awful lot of opportunity to like talk with people who were older than me. And I've pretty much always befriended people who were like ahead of me in life or whatever. Like that is a common thread, and that was even the case back in like middle school and high school, and that's how it manifested.
Right, and I'd say, I think you'd probably agree, like, I don't have a lot of contact with those people, but I don't know, like, this sounds like a Hallmark card thing, but they're still sort of part of my life.
Yeah, I can see that. I still do, like, have, like, short email conversations with some of them every once in a while, just, like, to reach out and check in. Like, it's a thing.
Very cool.
Dennis, what does Alan say?
Alan says, I don't have as personal a story when it comes to games, but I remember getting chills when playing Ocarina of Time when I stepped outside the church as adult Link.
Where by chills you mean when you suddenly got, jumped by like 5 re-deads?
But by chills you mean oh shit. Yeah.
I really, really hated those enemies.
I love the re-deads. They're so great. Yeah, really effective horror. Them and the Wallmasters, man. Zelda can be an effective horror game when it wants to be.
The Wallmasters, the hands?
Yes.
Yeah, or the things like the little tapeworms that suck you up. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Wait, likes?
Yeah. Well, those are neato. I like them.
Yeah.
They're creepy.
They're so cute. Yeah, so annoying.
Man, but like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are like a 1-2 punch of some bleak shit. Yeah. How about you, Dennis? Like, what? You initiated the question, but I left you for last. What? What affected you?
Yeah, I in typical me fashion, I asked this question having no idea what the answer for myself was going to be. But thinking about it, I'm actually going to have to go an unexpected route and say Rainbow Six Rogue Spear.
Whoa.
It's I don't know how many people have played or are familiar with the games. It's one that I got from the library and then bought because I enjoyed it so much. But the reason I enjoyed it so much was the planning mode. Mm-hmm. And I think that just introduced me to a level of strategic thinking and looking at a situation from every angle and trying to anticipate every possible variable. And I literally would spend hours and hours just messing around in that planning mode. And then, you spend 2 minutes actually playing the mission. Mm-hmm. But I think that triggered something in me that has lasted both in games and in life. So I was reading a review of Frozen Cortex, which is the kind of speech sequel or spiritual successor, which I was about to call Speechal. But for that game, where the reviewer said that kind of the core of that game is weaponized empathy. Like the ability to think how your opponent thinks or just think how another person thinks, understand their motivations, understand how they're thinking, you're thinking, and kind of getting to that level of depth is something that I just really enjoy, and two, something that I pride myself on just in everyday life is empathy. So I think really that started, probably triggered something that was already there in me, but kind of solidified it in game form in a way that I continue to pursue those kinds of gaming experiences. And I kind of try to take that approach of understanding people on a deeper level in life in general as well.
You should really play Door Kickers, Nennis.
I listened to that comrade and was very intrigued. So it sounded a lot like Frozen Synapse in some ways, and very different in other ways. So I'm interested to play it.
Yeah, watch for it to go on sale. It's relatively costly for what's there, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is what you're talking about.
I shall add it to my wish list.
Nice. Yeah, and the title Rogue Spear always bothered me.
Really? Why is that?
It just doesn't make sense. It's like, you're a loose cannon, Spear. You can't just stab whoever you want.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and then I think I had the expansion packs for it and everything like that. Oh, and this is just a random aside, but the multiplayer on those games, and maybe it was just the servers I was on, but it was always one death. For the entire mission. So once you got killed for a round, you were out, no respawning until until it was all resolved. And I just thought that's the way games were. And so the pace of play was just incredibly slow and considered, and not nearly as coordinated with teammates as I would have liked, but that element was there. To the point that when I heard about Halo and saw some of the images of the multiplayer maps, I had the image in my head of teams stacking up on the ridge in Blood Gulch and coordinating when they were going to go where, instead of just the free-for-all idiots running around that it actually
As
was.
As opposed to yelling racial slurs at each other and just killing people.
I was genuinely surprised the first time that I played Halo and found out it was like that. Not just for the racial insensitivity, but for the fact that it wasn't that kind of really considered and strategic play that I'd kind of just assumed online was like. So,
yeah, I didn't expect that answer.
Yeah, I thought about a couple different things, but that one, honestly, I do think that started some through lines for me in games and in general.
Yeah,
sounds like it.
So I'll pick us back up with Robin, who says, Dark Souls, hands down. The thing that makes the difference is the community. Bonfireside Chat, Vati's lore videos, Sunlight Blades PvP showcases, Eric Kane's essays, and so on. It gives richness and depth to my leisure time like no other video game.
Saying leisure time makes me assume he's a billionaire. I feel like leisure time is something that billionaires say.
Yeah. He's he's a great supporter of Bonfireside Chat, and what he's saying definitely makes sense, and that kind of feeds into my answer about Dark Souls 2 as well. Like he lists us as part of that community, and I'm honored to be listed alongside Vati. Who we got Vati on an episode, you guys.
Yay!
Yeah, But yeah, totally. I totally resonate with that. Jala, what does Phil say?
Phil says, some games have been absolutely jaw-dropping in visuals or story, but none have changed my life as much as World of Warcraft. For that is how I met my wife. We've now been married 6 amazing years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
We've had a lot of sweet stories come out of this. I'm very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's hear, Ben, what does Michael? I'm sorry.
Mikhail.
He told me
Mikhail.
how to pronounce it, and Mikhail, there we go.
Like a lot of people my age and younger, the first time I lost myself in a fictional universe outside of a book was The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Video games were until then, as most still are for me today, a way to see something interesting, spend time with friends, experience a sense of challenge and mastery, step into another world, etc. I had played some great games, but Ocarina of Time set up camp in my pre-adolescent brain like a Depression-era hobo jungle. A Hoover Town of the mind. I would lie awake at night, theory crafting, and wake up early to find glitches and secrets. Ocarina of Time also introduced me to the internet in a new way. It led me to enthusiast message boards where I became a regular, and it helped me realize that I could connect with people I didn't already know over mutual interest.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of curious, because for people who are 10 years older than us, they would say that about the original Legend of Zelda,
Yeah.
right? And, we're all roughly the same age. Like, Ocarina.
Except me.
I keep forgetting about that, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'm older than you.
Well, you were roughly in the same age group, right? So Ocarina hit me right around, like, age 10 to 11, something like that.
6th grade for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
See,
Good.
I'm about at Gary's age.
Okay. Yeah, I confess I don't know your actual age, and I will not ask you to say it, but yes.
Over 30.
There we go.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, so you probably had more. Well, yeah, you didn't have an SNES though. You would be more in the Link to the Past camp, right?
Well, I was in originally the original Legend of Zelda is the one I attached to the most. I actually liked it better than Link's Awakening or Link to the Past, because Link to the Past, because I didn't have an SNES, I had a Sega Genesis for a long time, and I only got the SNES later. I was playing stuff like Shining Force rather than stuff like Link to the Past and whatnot until I got that later and backtracked and retro gamed my way there. But for me, Legend of Zelda wise, it was honestly just the first game. And I was really little when it came out, but that was the one that I attached to, mostly because I attached the intro theme, and then the Super Mario Brothers Super Show had that stupid cartoon on Fridays, and I watched it. So...
Yeah, I guess Link's Awakening had that got to me first too, several years before Ocarina did. Huh? I don't know. We have one more response that came in. I don't know if anybody else refreshed to see this, but
I saw it.
yeah, Josh Sokol says Load Runner on the Apple IIc. My dad worked for USAID in Burkina Faso in West Africa, and my brother and I were stuck with this one computer game from 1986 to 1987. My brother never recovered.
I played some Apple games on my Apple IIe when I had one of those. So
hopping up on that lemonade stand. Yeah,
is that a system that like La Milana is imitating, or am I thinking of something else?
La Milana seems a little bit beyond that. Like that seems a little bit more like Amiga. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, the Apple IIe, he had an Apple IIc. I don't know what that was like. My Apple IIe was a green and black screen. So.
yeah. The Apple IIe, I think, ended up being in a lot of schools. Like we had several of those in our computer lab before. They had Carmen Sandiego and all those other games on those. So yeah, Load Runner's great. I wonder if he had a version that had a level editor, because I could see that being a great thing to have when you're a kid.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Oh man, don't get me started on level editors.
Yeah. Well, we ran that section a little bit long because of the Centennial. We're just going to have to be comfortable with this being a longer episode. But I can't say thank you enough to everybody who came out in force. I know we say it every single time that we're just kind of like blown away by the amount of participation that we get. If you look, 100 episodes back, our audience is much bigger now, but I still feel so much closer to all of you guys. So, from the bottom of my heart, and I won't speak for everybody else, but I have a suspicion you guys feel the same way. I say thank you.
Yeah. I would also say for anyone who hasn't reached out to us on Facebook in some form, I watch that page closely. I absolutely love just chatting with people over Messenger or what have you. I try to add people as friends who like the page. So the fact that we've gotten bigger dumbfounds me. I don't understand why people like listening to this, but as long as you do, I would love to talk with you. When in a two-way conversation as well. So I'll put that out there for myself. It's something I genuinely enjoy, and hopefully we can stay accessible like that. Despite the show getting bigger.
Yeah. And I'm up for chit-chatting with people. I know that there have been several listeners who've added me on Steam, but then haven't said hi or anything. And I haven't said hi to them either, mostly because I'm just like, well, I don't know if they're there or whatever. If I'm on Steam, I'm there. I'm not going to be away. You can talk to me. I'm there. I will co-op with you if you have something we can play. And I know I haven't been on there as much lately because I'm still trying to get everything unpacked and I'm getting over being sick. But as soon as I settle in completely, I will be back playing games all the time. So, and if you have Dungeon Defenders too, play it with me, please. I love it. The end.
Yeah. So if you want to roll up on us and do all that cool stuff, that is at facebook.com/thelevelpodcast. We're really happy to have you.
The grind.
Now it's time for the grind, where we talk about the games that we have been playing here in this 100th episode. I just want to remind you guys, in case you didn't get enough Centennial in the previous segment. Dennis, since you were not here last week, I'm going to volunteer you to go first.
Yeah, I've got two. The first is a little mobile game that I just stumbled on Twitter, and I'm really glad I did. It's called Card Crawl. I don't know if anyone else has heard of it, but it is essentially kind of a solitaire game with a twist. So it's played with a deck of cards like you would expect, and hearts are healing potions, diamonds are coins, spades or swords, and clubs or shields. But then all of the face cards, and I think it's like 9-10 face cards, correspond to different monsters that you have to fight.
Okay.
And you are dealt 4 cards at a time, and you have 3 slots that you can put those cards into. Well, four places you can put the cards. You can put them into your left hand, your right hand, your inventory, or your backpack. And then the final place is to your face, which is will damage you if you put a monster card onto your face.
Life lessons.
Yeah, go figure. But the idea is you have to play 3 of the cards before you can get more dealt to you. And so it's kind of every scenario that you're dealt, you have to say, okay, which of these cards do I want to equip? Which then I'm saying that I'm left hand or right hand, I'm occupying that slot until I actually use it. Which do I want to put in my backpack? Which then I can kind of just have and just keep for later without being obligated to use it. Or there are a couple of other options that you can use to get to the bottom of the deck. And so it's kind of it has just a little bit of card counting in it, because you can say, okay, I've seen a bunch of low level monsters early on. That means the high level monsters are I'm going to have to save up better stuff to fight them. Or you could say, vice versa, or hey, I've seen a lot of shields, so I know I'm not going to have a lot of defense later on, that sort of thing. But it also has an element of randomness in that 5 of the cards that you get in the deck are just ability cards. So these are drawn from a pool of, I think it gets up to 20 cards, and can have special effects like redraw all the cards that you're dealt, or after you take fatal damage, revive yourself with 1 health. And it just adds this, extra element of randomness and just a twinge of deck building onto a game of solitaire that I really, really like. So I've put a ton of time into it. I'd be scared to actually see how much I play. A game takes 3 minutes tops. It is very possible if you don't play intelligently to lose in the first couple moves or first couple deals. But it's very well put together. It's a very simple presentation that is kind of a cute little art style to it that I like. The person dealing you the cards is this big, like, giant demon centaur type person who's just kind of watches very expectantly and gets very sad if you win or very happy if you lose, versus him. But never does anything other than chug his beer and deal you another hand. So I absolutely adore this game. It's called Card Crawl again, and I've had a ton of fun with it.
So is it just kind of these random battles, or is there like a larger meta narrative, meta story that you're trying to pursue in between the individual confrontations?
Yeah, no larger story. As you win. This is another layer to it. Coin cards, you have no combat value. You just get points for them, and you can choose to sell any of your swords or shields or potions for more coins. And so on top of just getting through the deck like you would try to do in a game of regular solitaire, you are also trying to get as many coins as you can, which again, it comes to that kind of counting cards piece where you're like, okay, I think I've gotten all the big monsters out of the way, and I'm pretty close to full health. So I'm going to start selling stuff now, even though I'm only 2/3 the way through the deck, because I don't think there's anything coming that can really knock me off my game. And so you earn money, and with that money you can buy new ability cards. So you start out with just 5, and you unlock them up until you get 20. And obviously the more powerful cards are more expensive to unlock.
And you're fighting progressively more powerful dudes, or?
It's the same set of enemies every time you play.
Okay.
So it's like, I think there are 3 soul eaters, which are the most powerful enemy. There are 3 or 4. I'm still learning to count the deck. 3 or 4 trolls, and several smaller enemies. But it is a fixed deck that you play with, except for the 5 randomly chosen ability cards.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
That's pretty cool.
How'd you find out about this?
Jamie Churchman tweeted a high score from the game. And when I found it, I haven't gone back to the store to look, but it really didn't have many reviews. It didn't have many ratings. It seemed very early on in release. So I need to look and see who developed it. Awesome podcast radio. Dennis looking up stuff. But so I got the impression it's Tiny Touch Tales and Max Mexer Fiddler are the people who developed it.
Those both sound made up.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I absolutely adore the game. Yeah, design and code by Tiny Touch Tales, art by Max Fiedler. Fiedler? Yeah, Fiedler. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's not by like some big company or anyone that I recognized, but it's still a really worthwhile game.
Yeah.
So good for a brain break.
Nice.
Yay!
Yeah.
What was your other one?
My other one was Papo Yo, the game about a kid kind of dealing with his alcoholic father.
Yes.
That was critically panned when it was released. Like, everyone really hated on this game, and so I skipped it. It had been on my radar before it released. I saw the reviews, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that sucks. I'm not going to play it. And I am really kicking myself for waiting so long to play this game. It is on PlayStation Plus now, which is why I came to it. I have encountered none of the technical problems that people complained about at launch, which, the game could have very well been patched. So that's good that it's fixed now. But this game is absolutely fantastic. It's kind of a puzzle platformer where you're a kid who's kind of in this dream world favela, where it kind of starts out looking like a favela, like you would imagine in real life, but just there are increasingly fanciful elements introduced to it, to where kind of buildings will grow legs and walk around, or a switch that you flip will cause the world to kind of spin in a weird way, and it's very, very dreamlike in the way you interact with the world. But then that actually ties into the puzzle solving. and kind of the main hook of this game is you're introduced to Monster partway through, which is this big, powerful creature who really only cares about eating and sleeping. It doesn't really notice you too much unless you're holding food. Who, if he gets his hands on a poisonous frog, which is the metaphor for alcohol, I guess, will kind of go berserk and just start trying to kill you, essentially. And it's all about kind of trying to navigate life with this big lumbering thing. And at least to the point that I've played, the metaphor is extremely powerful and works really, really well. And one of the things that the reviews complained about was that the metaphor was too on the page, like it was too obvious that, hey, the monster is an alcoholic father. But I disagree with that. I don't think the point of that metaphor was to be obtuse or to be hard to understand. I think it was to set up gameplay conventions that then allowed you to kind of sit in and experience and empathize with what this guy went through. So, the first time I was trying to maneuver food around and had this monster lumbering toward me, I felt that kind of like, it's way more powerful than I am, and just feared it coming towards me, even though I knew it wasn't directly trying to harm me, feeling its apathy towards me when I didn't have anything of value, and just kind of immediately losing interest in me and going off to its own devices. And then obviously the parts where it's actively in rage mode and trying to hurt me are very panic inducing. So the extent that I've played just thematically, it really solidifies for me how games are empathy simulators. And even though, I'm very fortunate, I'll never know what that experience is directly like, I feel like this game gives me a better approximation than I could get from a book or a movie, because I'm taking an active role in it. So that's been really cool. The puzzles also are really good. I've enjoyed it. I feel like it has just the right balance of not holding your hand, but at the same time you always have something that you're working towards. So I've never felt completely stuck, and it feels very natural that as you kind of explore the area trying to figure it out, you'll see new things and kind of put things together in a different way, that it never felt I was just beating my head against a wall. It always felt like I was making progress while still being challenging. So very, very high praise for this game.
So what's kind of funny about that is, I've got this game in a couple of different iterations now, either from a Humble Bundle or now, like you said, it's on PS, it's PS Plus. I've stayed away because even up to like years before its release, I kind of already knew the story behind its creation. The idea that this is, a very personal story from this developer talking about, his childhood as, the son of an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. My thing, my thing about this is I feel like I would get so much more satisfaction going into it blind of that, right? To kind of like realize and put it together on my own. But then on the other side of that, how do you market this? How do you say, hey, this is something that is different and distinct from other experiences because it is this kind of this kind of personal story. Did you walk into this knowing that there was this metaphor in play, or I mean, you obviously had read stuff about this, but like how much of this did you experience through the eyes of like looking for these explicit things?
Yeah, no, and so I think absolutely I knew exactly what he's trying to accomplish going in. I knew exactly what the metaphor was and what, and he even had, there's a little quote at the beginning of it that very clearly says, for my mother and sister who had to live with the monster in our house. And so it's not obtuse at all. It's completely clear exactly what the metaphor is, but I don't think the point of it was to surprise people or make people think about what the monster represented. Mm-hmm. I think it was just the most handy analogy to then really allow someone to experience it. Yeah. And so I think and this is really the what I've been thinking about while I've been playing it the most, is that metaphor in a video game I think is most effective in a different form than it is in books or film. Whereas in books or film, there is this degree of, hey, I want this to be veiled to me. I want to be surprised by it, or I want to have to, I want to have to work to understand it. In a video game, understanding it is just the first part. Then you can go on to experience it for the entire rest of the game. So what I found, and again, that is what you just talked about, was exactly what all the reviewers hounded on. Like, oh, it's too obvious. Mm-hmm. And I'm really disappointed that caused me to skip the game, because what it does is it kind of says, hey, this is a metaphor for my alcoholic dad. This is what it was like for me. And then you actually get to experience that and kind of, live that. It's a very, in a certain way for a while. So I really kind of, that's caused me to change about what I want games to do with their theming and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm okay if it's a little more obvious, if that helps me understand and empathize.
Yeah. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
what it comes down to for me is, is the primary hook for this something that is going to be used in the marketing of it? And does that kind of diminish from the personal, kind of journey that you're going to go through? Is there, you haven't beaten this game, so it's unfair to put to put the irons to you about this. But is there an arc to it that you can perceive? Is there any kind of, change in the relationship? Is it setting up some kind of expectation that's going to be subverted? Or is it pretty much the same note the whole way through?
That's a good question. I don't know what's going to be changing, by the end of the game. Like you said, I haven't beat it yet. Some of the additional reading I did once I realized, oh my God, this is a really good game, and I wanted to see what other opinions were out there on it. There has been hinted at there will be changes, especially I understand the final sequence, that do kind of pay off in a really good way, or do have aren't just completely a one-note song. Mm-hmm. But again, there is more power in experiencing it, and you can get more mileage out of experiencing it in a video game in a way that I think you can't in a movie. So to say that there isn't some dramatic subversion, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But it sounds like there is something at least waiting for me at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unfair comparison because they're two entirely different games, and they may be trying to do two different things. But like a game that is on a similar scale to this would be Brothers, right?
Yep.
And Brothers leads with, hey, it's this unconventional control mechanism that's going to, befuddle you first, and then eventually you're going to pick it up. But what that game is about is so much more than what's apparent on the page. And in a lot of ways, you can probably predict where it's going to go, because it's a video game and it has a relatively simplistic narrative. But I would call that a very successful experiment in this, specifically because it does obfuscate it to a certain extent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you've got it, and I have no idea how long the game is, so I can't recommend it. But I would be interested to hear your perspective on it if you ever do get around to playing it.
Yeah.
That's me.
Cool. Yeah. David, how about you?
I've been continuing on with Dark Souls. That's kind of
Dark Souls or
just
Bloodborne?
been my thing. Okay.
Which game are you playing? Well, no, which game are you playing? Dark Souls or Bloodborne?
I'm sorry, Bloodborne.
Okay.
Dark Souls 3.
Which one are you? Okay, so no spoilers. I think that early on boss names are a thing, or also area names. So like what are you contending with at the moment?
I made it through the second boss. So Father, what's his name?
Gascione. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm exploring. I explored what I think is a good chunk of the Cathedral Ward.
Yes.
And ultimately got to the Carnal Row or Charnel Row?
Oh yeah, Hammock Charnel Lane. Yeah.
Right, and then also to Vicar Amelia.
Yeah.
And decide I didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, so you're going to go the other way.
Right, and then explored Old Yarnum and got shot off the top of a tower.
Yeah.
And that's about as far as I've gotten.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're squarely still in like the first third of the game.
Okay.
And yeah, like those are both, whole sets of areas that present themselves to you right at the, like at the same time. So you have to make your decision. What I will say is that Vicar Amelia you're probably underleveled for her.
Sure.
Yeah.
Although, does it seem like I agree. Although, does it seem like the game overall leveling's a little flatter than it was in Dark Souls?
Define flatter for me.
It doesn't seem like leveling up changes things as much, and also it seems like fighting enemies that appear to be maybe higher level than me doesn't seem as hard.
Yeah, I would say, there are fewer stats to level up, and there's also less kind of chasing after equipment that you have to do.
Okay.
So it's very much not the case that you will add a stat to add a point to a particular stat, and then all of a sudden be able to use a really powerful item that you otherwise would not have been able to use, with the exception of like the magic system, which shows up later on, and the weird way that that's implemented. Yeah, so you're probably right. That still doesn't get rid of the fact that putting points into endurance and vitality, or whatever the stamina and HP stats are, will be incredibly valuable.
So you actually put points in endurance?
Oh yeah.
See, as far as I can tell, it seems like a useless stat. It seems kind of like the like the resistance from Dark Souls or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely not the resistance stat. Like endurance gives you more energy to attack and dodge and stuff.
See, but it gives you like 0.01% of your. I know it just seemed like the increase was way too low to ever be relevant.
It pays dividends.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Interesting. So I just leveled up enough to use the what's the hammer sword?
Oh yeah, the I forget what it is, but it is the short sword that turns into a hammer.
Right. Yeah. So that I haven't gotten to use in combat yet, but that's kind of a cool weapon. I feel like the in terms of like animation quality, I feel like that's a weapon that really the kind of trick weapon system shines.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it gets even crazier. Don't worry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And you never stop feeling like a badass when you walk up to an encounter and you do a trick weapon change. It's like you're just cocking your gun, getting ready to go for it.
See, that is one of the few mechanics that I actually haven't learned yet. I'm starting to slowly get the hang on the parry system, and I beat Father Gascon or whatever almost entirely on the strength of backstabs.
Yeah.
But I have not found a use for the trick weapons.
I mean, really what it is just a way to have two weapons at your disposal at any given time.
See, I know. I mean, part of it is, I think, for me, like, particularly in Dark Souls, even now, like, I'm very much I want an all-around weapon. So basically that I end up never using the extended version of the weapons, because there's never a scenario where I'm willing to give up speed and usability for range or power.
I forget, what'd you start with? Did you do the saw cleaver?
Right now I'm using the saw spear, which is basically like the Dex version of the saw cleaver.
Right. With longer reach, yeah.
Yeah, like the only time really I use the trick weapon is if I'm explicitly fighting something like a crow where I want to attack from long range.
Yeah. Huh.
So
have we alienated everybody else yet?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I guess I to maybe say something with a little bit more content, I feel like once... I know. I feel like very much kind of my feeling is I think the first area is just poorly designed. I feel like it doesn't show off why they made all the changes they made. And then I feel like once you get past the second boss, everything kind of gels.
Okay.
And kind of in different ways. I feel like the Cathedral Ward sort of seems like more the traditional Dark Souls, where it's relatively powerful, small numbers of very powerful enemies. And, it seems like some of the dodge mechanics and particularly the parrying really kind of comes together there.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the fact that parrying, at least it seems to me, isn't so much a normal combat skill so much as is what you use when it would be too dangerous to take the time to fight an enemy conventionally.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the old Yarnum, it really
it turns into a different game there for a little bit.
Right. And they there's a lot of smoke, so you can't see. It's very disorganized layout. Mm-hmm. And for various reasons, you have to move fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so it basically, upends, the whole Dark Souls formula.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's an area where some of your increased speed and particularly the regain system really, really comes together, why that works.
Yeah.
Particularly, there's one segment where they basically force you to run into a room and you find that it's full of sleeping enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And that exchange is very cool. So
yeah. The regain system, for anybody who's listening, it's a system where you can get lost health back by being very aggressive and attacking enemies within a short amount of time after losing health yourself.
Huh. Yeah, and I would say that is a system that I hope becomes added to the vocabulary of action games. Because I'm still a little bit not sold on it for Bloodborne, but I could see it really being really, really cool in like a Devil May Cry.
Yeah, it's a fundamental shift. Like Scholar of the First Sin came out the remaster version of Dark Souls 2 with the remixed enemies and stuff, and went back and played that, and it took me like an hour to remember A, I have a shield, and B, the regain system doesn't work. Like it changes the calculus of the way you approach even the smallest encounters in a pretty profound way.
Sure. I do want to rag on one thing. I got to my first I got to the fight with the guy with the Shocky club.
Mm-hmm. Over to the right of Victor Amelia. Yeah.
Yes, and I don't know that fight kind of. If I'm going to rag on something, that kind of annoys me, both to a degree that apparently shields work for everyone in the world that isn't you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And two, just I don't know. It sort of annoyed me the fact that like. I basically was in control of that fight. Like, I was, doing well dodging it. It's just the fact that my attacks took off like 1% of his HP.
That, like, that area over there, you're not supposed to go there until much later. But there's no way to know that. Aside from, your attacks only doing a very small, portion of damage. And any of those hunter fights that you're going to look at, A, they're going to show you weapons you really want later. Like that Tonitrus, which is that Shocky Club kind of thing, is one of the best weapons in the game.
Okay.
So the fact that you're not doing well against it just speaks to how overpowered that is. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The nice thing is, any of those hunters that you kill, they don't respawn.
That's nice. That is kind of cool.
Conscientious, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Part of this is just like the game. I feel like the game pressing itself in terms of doing more verticality, but it does kind of annoy me that I'm apparently unable to step over knee-height walls.
Yeah, that's just a thing. It's an unfortunate thing, but it's a thing.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Huh. But yeah, I'm curious. How helpful have you found the messages from other players to be?
Pretty helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. Like so far, I would say virtually every ambush that the game sets up, I've been warned of before. Mm-hmm. Like every shortcut, like I found it to be incredibly, incredibly helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good, and you don't get Dark Souls 2. People when Scholar came out, people really rushed to get all of their sexist and racist stuff in there as quickly as possible.
Wait, how do you even do that? Because, I mean, it's a set thing.
Woman ahead, therefore liar. Yeah. Yeah.
So dumb.
Yep. Tri-tongue butthole. Yeah. Bunch of stuff like that. In front of the one black NPC, darkness, therefore attack. It's not funny. Like, it's actually really depressing. So.
Yeah, that's wow. Okay, yeah, I guess I've lost my faith in humanity for the day. But
yep, even if you restrict the verb set, people are still going to be dipshits. So cool, guys.
Yeah. So, I have noticed that people still refer to the lamps as bonfires, which is kind of entertaining.
Yep, people will do that.
So.
In fairness, there is also, like, whenever there's a skeleton in the scenery, there's somebody who will drop a marker that says, "Hooray, skeleton!" So,
there's some funny ones.
They should just pick some of those, shittier combinations of words and have that have an indirect effect on your game. Just like increase whatever the equivalent of your sin level or your the world tendency from Demon Souls.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing,
the
right?
asshole who goes around and makes that joke on every female NPC or something like that suddenly finds himself just completely unable to play the game.
So all of these games, they reward you when your message gets upvoted, right? Like in Bloodborne, you get a little bit of health back, and Dark Souls, you get some humanity. Like they put that in there, but there's no way to say, "Hey, this thing is bad," and have it be a real effect. Like if it just halved your HP.
Downvoting has no negative effect,
right? It only factors into, like, if people look at what the votes are, how credible is this thing?
Yeah. I mean, there is no way to put negative consequences into the game that would not be immediately hijacked by trolls. But
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for my solution, which I think is pretty elegant.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
So on a semi-related note, and again alienating everyone, is there any reason to build up insight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And as you go through and as you acquire more, you're going to think the game is just doing natural things that games do when they get harder and when you progress along. But it is a fascinating system that we're still learning more and more stuff about every single day.
Okay, because all of the consequences that, like, I've heard of so far, just from, like, Scuttlebutt, have been negative for me.
Well, I mean, negative in terms of, like, okay,
making
so for
me
you,
more likely to die.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it makes the game more interesting too. So.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess what I'll say is don't hoard it. Use it as you see fit, because you need it to summon people, and there is no shame in asking for help. But as as it rises up, it is interesting when it gets up into the 20s and the 30s what starts to happen.
Sure. Do you ever upgrade armor? Like, I could theoretically spend insight to buy armor. I've found tons of armor, but it's all worse than the stuff I got, like, really early in the game.
Yeah, that's all mostly for fashion souls, actually. So, yeah, armor takes a little bit of a backseat in this game.
Yeah, that I will say that is something. That is one thing I do legitimately kind of am disappointed about, is that they underemphasize the item system.
Yeah.
But, oh well.
Yeah. We should move on from that.
Yes, we should.
I'm just wondering where this episode will be posted in relation to the first episode of your Bloodborne Bonfires Out chat.
Well, I mean, that came out like last week. And then
gotcha.
We've got the introduction episode coming out this week here. So, like, it's still in the zeitgeist.
Cool. I was gonna say there might be more Bloodborne chat on the level than there was on Fireside Chat.
Yeah,
part of my evil scheme.
Yeah, Jala, how about you?
Okay, well, I've got 3 different ones, 2 of which have been mentioned before on the network somewhere. First off, I beat Sorcery 2. Mm-hmm. While I like that you have flexibility in casting spells and how you want to approach all the different encounters, I was finding myself frustrated in this one in particular with the limited ability to go back through the areas I'd already traversed, since you're supposed to be, finding out secrets in this city during this segment of the game. The remedy in the gameplay style was to have a mage send you back in time to whatever point you wanted to start from inside of this city that you're supposed to traverse throughout this segment. And while I know that that's like to harken back to the game book source that this was emulating, it was still irritating anyway because it's a medium where doubling back should be pretty simple. Other than that, I actually rather enjoyed it, and I'm waiting for part 3 to come out. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I need to get on that.
And then let's see. The next thing I did was, because I'm on this mobile kick, I did do a game that wasn't mobile, but my other mobile game was 80 Days. I played through it. And I made it around the world in 102 days, but I was quite comfortably able to do so, and did so in a very long single sitting. And I was waylaid by a storm, having to mutiny to reclaim control of the ship after trekking across most of the Pacific in a big time waster to try to get from Yokohama to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And got detoured to Hawaii. And then I was also thrown in prison in Russia for a few days, and otherwise I'd probably have been far more punctual. I went across the Trans-Siberian Railroad just because you, Kole, and you, Ben, both talked about that. So every single time I say that, I want to just say Trans-Siberian Orchestra. But anyway.
Yeah, my one fine day. My one fine day with my princess.
See, I'm just impressed that you were able to trek across an ocean.
Well, if I weren't going the way that the other people on the podcast were going, I probably would have headed north on like a balloon or something. So, but when I started,
it's the only way to travel.
Yeah, well, then when I restarted it, and I haven't gotten anywhere, by the way, I just like let it play out the intro again. The dude, I forget his name, said that, oh, you should go south next time. So I don't know. I might try that next time because that sounds interesting too. Eventually, if I go north, I will have to go south anyway. So either way works.
Trans-Siberian Railroad. Ah, yes. Trans-Siberian Railroad. I once knew a girl who lived on the Trans-Siberian Railroad a long time ago when I was a young man. Not a day passes I don't think of her and that promise that I made, which I'll always keep. That one perfect day on the Trans-Siberian Railroad.
I had a couple of lovers.
I think we lost Cole.
Break the record for longest episode.
I had a Mongolian girl kiss me on the railroad, but then also when I went to New Orleans, I had some dude in a death mask follow me around and then kiss me there too. So apparently my butler got it going on. That's all I got to say about that.
When you mean death mask, do you mean like
a mask that is the face of death?
Okay, not like the mask they made when someone died.
No. So anyway, the only thing that was like it's addicting to play and it's neato, except like when you're on those really long stretches, like on the Trans-Siberian Railroad or across the entire Pacific, it kind of gets to the point where like all of the events have triggered more or less, and there's just downtime where you've already had all the conversations you can have, and you're just kind of sitting there waiting for something interesting to happen because it's a boring long sea voyage. So, but that doesn't make for... Yeah, well, that wasn't very interesting. Yeah, right? That's just kind of like, okay, click, click. Okay, what's next? So anyway, that was my experience with that. It's neato. I'll probably play it again and this time go north-south. And finally, the last thing I played is Dungeon Defenders 2, if you didn't already get the memo. It's still currently in pre-alpha, but it's available on Steam. And so far, I haven't really run into any bugs, but there are still a lot of things being added in or rather obviously on the roster, like coming soon and stuff like that. Or, there's sprites and stuff, but they're just placeholders. There are currently 4 playable characters for the time being: the Huntress, the Mage, the Monk, and the Squire, which are the original 4 characters from the original Dungeon Defender game. And if I say original one more time, then I'll blow up.
And it's lost all meaning.
Yes, exactly. So this time around, I have named my Squire Pebbles, and Pebbles the Squire is who I have been playing the entire time. I have not switched. I've been co-oping with Micah, and he has been the Monk, and for a very brief time, the Mage. Neither of us has played the Huntress at this point. The changes from the original Done Deaf are improvements, and I said it again. They're improvements, at least by my standards. The camera is switched to over the shoulder, just behind your hero, rather than being a 3/4 top-down view as it was in the first game. The fighting style is faster and feels more like Orcs Must Die, which is awesome. It also maintains the flexibility of a larger cast of characters to play rather than the 2 that are in that game. There's also more items to equip and to customize, special hero abilities to complement the turrets, and of course the usual assortment of upgrades to turrets themselves. I haven't encountered any bosses, and so I don't know if there are bosses, but I've only played a couple of levels so far. But the game ramps up pretty well and gives you multiple goals, starting from the second level where you have to defend a merchant cart in the marketplace, as well as a sewer gate control, because if the goblins open that, they have an extremely close access point to the cart and basically win. So, but they also have long-range javelin throwers and like heavy artillery type, equivalents. So you have to really be active all over the playing field to get everything covered the way you need to. All in all, I'm really enjoying it, and I really can't wait to play more of it. It's been a lot of fun.
At what point does this stop being tower defense and start becoming like a very focused Warcraft 3 mod? I'm serious.
I don't know. All I know is I don't. It's not like I'm playing it just because it has like the moniker, the genre, the whatever of a tower defense. Yeah. But especially since I just kind of play all over the board. But I like the fact that this game is. I guess I don't know the time scale on this, so I don't know if the first game came out before or after Orcs Must Die 2, which is the co-op one, and Sanctum, because those play faster, but they are tower defense, and those seem to be more geared towards like an action tower defense style. And this game is more along that vein than the original Done Deaf, which is like a slower paced and a little bit more considered. There are times when you have to attack the mobs coming in, but they move slower, and it's not the same feeling of being in the action that you get with the second game. But I can also say too that at PAX South they did have a nice representation in a cool booth, and I took photos of it, but I didn't actually play the game there, mostly because I wanted to be able to co-op it with people that I knew and experience it for the first time that way. So I actually restrained myself from playing. So
nice. Does it feel like it is a diminished experience being in early access, or are you kind of getting all of it? Okay.
Oh no, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and when they release more stuff, I'll just be like, toys.
Nice.
So,
Ben, how about you?
Was that everything you got, Jala?
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I was...
No, I said I had 3 things. Those were my 3. It's over.
All right.
Yeah.
I only have one thing, and it's Alien Isolation, same thing that I was playing last week. So I've continued on. I've met Alien because I had not done that before, but it's just slow moving. There's a lot of dying in that game, so it's good in the sense that the environment is really beautiful. The gameplay is not as great as I would have hoped for. It's a similar experience to Hitman in the fact that there's a lot of dying and restarting, and then trying a similar strategy over and over again. The only thing that doesn't work with this one is it's not as rewarding as like a Hitman game, because basically all you're doing is trying to figure out how to dodge the alien or how to dodge the robots who are there as well. So the 2 main adversaries are the alien, and then there's robots that patrol the station that are like the AI units for the whatever they like run the ship.
Yeah.
But functionally they're the same, where if you run into either of them, they're going to kill you. The robots, you can maybe kill 1 or 2 of them, maybe. But the alien, there's just no way you can kill. So it's that part's been a little bit disappointing, where it's very much trudging through the map and a lot of restarting. You can't save at any time, so you can't save scum, which may or may not be a good thing. But it makes it a lot harder because you have to get through, 3 or 4 different close call situations to get to the next save point. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Are these AI units kind of like Bishop?
Yeah, similar, except they have a more ghastly face. Like, picture the face that they thought they found on the surface of Mars.
Oh, God.
Cover that in white plastic, and that's kind of what the robots are like.
That face
it's
on
like
Mars
that episode of X-Files.
Yeah, or that Gary Sinise movie. Wait, Ghost of Mars. Was that Gary Sinise, or was that
wasn't Ghost of Mars. That was Mission to Mars.
Yeah, okay.
Ghost of Mars is the Wes Craven movie.
Yeah. That was an illusionist prestige kind of situation, wasn't it? Where both of those kind of came out at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Ghost of Mars is the one that stars Ice Cube.
Yeah.
One has to wonder why the caretaker AIs had a kill all humans setting.
No, they're making too much of a mess.
The way they have it is that they were just like very poorly programmed AIs, like just really bad programmers and really lazy. So yeah.
Well, because to be fair, that's what happens every time I screw up one of my programs. Is it tries to kill me?
Must kill David.
Wow, that's kind of funny. Ghost of Mars was really early on in Jason Statham's career, but it was like a year before The Transporter. That was 2001, and then The Transporter was 2002.
He had did he not have a Texan accent in that, or am I confusing it with the one?
I'm not sure. It might be the one.
We'll have to talk to our Jason Statham archivist for the podcast.
You know what? I don't know that if we have one, but we have a Jet Li archivist, and I think that we can get him in to talk about the one.
Yeah, we can get him.
That's such a good movie.
Double the work.
Yeah, the one has Carla Gugino. She is an attractive woman.
It's interesting. The one's actually kind of cooler if you know there's actually a lot of martial arts kind of trivia in that with the martial arts styles that the hero and evil Jet Li do. So they're two related styles. That one's aggressive and linear, and the other one's circular and more defensive.
That was supposed to be Jet Li's last movie too, right?
I don't think that one. No, that was Fearless.
Okay. Huh. Anyway, Alien Isolation.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll probably keep playing it if I don't get too frustrated and rage quit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of seems to be a game that plays with frustration. Like, are you effectively scared? It sounds like you're pretty spooked about those androids.
No. The first thing I did when I saw the alien was just unload a clip on it, knowing that I wouldn't be able to kill it. But I just wanted to, get the aggression out of the way, break the ice, and then try and
just let him know where you stand. Like you just can't let him push you around.
Yeah, you kind of lose fear of it after you've seen dozens of cutscenes of him murdering you. It's just like, all right, I know what the bad lose condition is. So.
So does it do kind of the Tomb Raider approach to death?
Yeah, they keep it in first person though, so you don't see the gore outside of the first person perspective. So yeah, you just see the gore heading towards your eyesight, and that's about it.
Okay. At least they don't do. I always hate the splash gore on the screen because that's how eyes work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see here. Is there anything else about Aliens Isolation?
No, that's about it.
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to try and keep mine relatively brief because we, to lift the fourth wall here a little bit, we are approaching midnight our time, and I want to respect everybody's ability, to function tomorrow.
And we're 100 years old,
hour.
guys. We deserve a break.
Yes. You're lucky we didn't just kind of peter out after hitting the early bird at the Shoney's. Shoney's, who am I kidding? Putting on airs, the Sizzler. Oh, okay, the Sizzler. Who am I putting on airs? The Ponderosa.
Ponderosa.
Ponderosa is some good stuff. There's chicken wings.
Who am I kidding? Putting on airs, the Ryans. I can keep going down, you guys.
More local. More local.
there is no bottom. All right. So I've got two. One of which is a demo, so we can breeze through that quite nicely. Titan Souls. Dear God, play this game.
Oh.
Or,
Cool.
or at least check out this demo, which is free. It's on Steam. The actual game comes out on the 14th of April here, so in roughly a week. So I was initially turned off from this because it's a game that has souls in the title, and I had no idea if it was trying to just kind of like cash in on that name, right? Mm-hmm. Without kind of, taking the stuff from that made it kind of good. But it's actually really great. So this is like picture a top-down pixel art. Think Dark Souls meets Shadow of the Colossus.
Nice.
Okay, so you are a tiny little pixel person, and the art in this is beautiful. I would liken the color palette to say like Sword and Sorcery. So it's really muted. It's meant to evoke this kind of desolate fantasy kind of feel, and the demo is limited. But the Shadow of the Colossus comparison is apt because all of the combat in this game is boss fights. Right. So the demo is structured such that you have these 3 different arenas you can go into where you're fighting these bosses. Now, the wrinkle here is that you have one arrow that you can fire. You charge up the shot and you aim it, and hopefully you hit someplace that can damage the boss. When you fire this, you have to either run up and pick up the arrow where it drops or hold down your fire button in order to like suck it back towards you. Okay? And you have to kind of manage this. And hopefully you hit because everything is invulnerable except the weak point, which will kill the boss in one hit.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
That's
That does
interesting.
not sound like the Shadow of the Colossus then.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's but it still is about tenacity, and it's still about it. Kind of has that Dark Souls feeling of you're going to die a lot in order to try and figure out where this boss, A, is not actively trying to kill you and succeeding, and B, where it leaves itself open for you to get this one kind of Hail Mary pass at its blinky weak spot, which sometimes isn't blinky. Sometimes, you have to solve these little like miniature puzzles during the, during the experience.
Okay, so I was going to ask if the weak spot it's immediately apparent where the weak spot is, or if it's kind of you have to trial and error figure out.
If it's
where it might
apparent
be.
where the weak spot is, it's not apparent how to take advantage of it.
Got it.
Okay, so like there's one boss that is a cube, and on one side is an eye that will fire a laser on you, and it kind of like rolls around a little bit like a dice, like it's on a grid, and it'll roll, and you only kill it by firing an arrow directly into this eye. However, if you are in a position to fire an arrow into it, it's in a position to laser you. Yeah. And you can never count on, you have to keep track of like which side is exposed, right? And the side that's pointing like up towards the viewer, because this is a top-down game, is not the one you're keeping track of. You're keeping track of like where that eye is on the horizontal plane. So you have to like figure out how to bait this thing into exposing itself.
Nice.
Yeah. Much like To Catch a Predator.
Swooped.
So,
You burnt. Good.
so watching the videos, it seems like the games you seem pretty agile, fairly fast moving for these sorts of games.
What's awesome about it is you have a roll button.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it is very Dark Souls in that fashion, right? You are often asked, and it's demanded of you to dodge at the very last second in order to take advantage of those openings. So to give you a little bit of like a perspective, I played for roughly a half an hour and I died 25 times.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Where are you respawning from? Is it at the beginning of the boss fight or just nearby?
At the center of the world. So it's a little bit of a run up, and I was like, that's a bit of a bummer. I think that what we're seeing in the demo is kind of a little bit of a vertical slice. I'm not sure how the checkpointing is going to work on it. I hope it's a little bit more generous, but I can see what they're doing to where it gives you a bunch of options, of what to fight at once, and you have to traverse in order to get there a little bit. So that if you hit a wall with a particular boss and like, I just have no no patience to try this guy one more time. I want to go, get my feet wet on another, on another boss here, and that structurally works for me. The walking around in this kind of arena setting doesn't work for me, just because you're not seeing a bunch of like pretty stuff. However, if they do have you doing some, environmental storytelling, if they build up the atmosphere and the ambience and play into the music the way that I think they're going to, based on how good the soundtrack sounds, this is going to be one to look out for, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
As a side note, in Shadow classes, could you play bosses out of order?
No.
Okay.
Could you?
No.
Yeah. It was very explicit about there being a sequence. Like, I've never seen any sequence breaking happening on that.
You can go to the places. It's just nothing. No boss emerges or appears.
Yeah.
He's still sleepy.
But yeah, that's Titan Souls. It's on Steam. That demo is, and maybe it's on PS4. I'm not sure, but yeah, I really enjoy it so far.
Very neat.
Cool. And the other one, which I guess we can't get into too much just because it is so late, but I want to know if you guys have any questions. Super Mario 3D World.
Is it good?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Cool.
Enough said.
Can you say that again? Sorry, it's crapped out. What game?
Super Mario 3D World.
Oh, okay. Is that like the N64 one?
You know what? And actually, I do get a little bit of a Mario 64 feeling off of it. However, it does have kind of that Mario stage as diorama feeling that Super Mario 3D Land had.
Okay, but I mean, is it more like sandboxy the way the 64 one was?
No, you have like an overworld map, so it's like it's a little bit of a free roaming Super Mario 3 map.
Okay.
Yeah, to where it opens up some stuff. And you have some options, like it branches a little bit, but you're going to want to play them all because Mario levels are fun to play.
Sure, but I mean, the actual levels themselves, like in 64, the levels were just kind of areas as opposed to being like, linear.
It's more directed than that, honestly.
Okay. That's too bad.
There is a definite beginning point and end point, and it's not like you're signing up for a particular goal. However, there are little micro objectives within each stage. You're trying to get these green stars, and these green stars are used to kind of gate a certain amount of your progress. And so, like, there are little things that you can do. However, it's not like you're dipping into the same world for multiple times for different things that kind of change the way you approach it. It's still something that is meant to be taken from beginning to end.
Okay.
So it sounds similar to New Super Mario Brothers then.
Yes. Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing.
No, I like New Super Mario Brothers a lot. I wish that this played a little bit faster. I think that it's slowed down in order to accommodate multiple players. It is meant to be played, with up to 4 people, which I have not kind of experienced yet. But you get to be Kitty Cat Mario, and you get to climb up walls and bat at things with your paws, which is great.
Wait. So are you officially embracing furryism?
No, I'm embracing kitty cats.
This sounds like a slippery slope to me.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It came with my Wii U. I'm very happy that it did. And I might have more to talk about later, but it is a Mario-ass Mario game, which simultaneously makes it absolutely worth experiencing, but probably not the most fruitful thing to like go into, in-depth discussion about. Yeah.
You're enjoying it.
Yeah. Do you want to button it up?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
100 times yes.
The credit.
Yeah, so this has been an extra long episode for the Centennial. I'll say it again. We've got all the usual stuff. You guys know we mentioned the Facebook. There's always the iTunes thing. If you guys want to help us celebrate that, celebrate the 100 episodes. If you're a new listener, if you're somebody who's kind of come on but not left us a rating or review on iTunes, that is more of a help than you can even know. So if you could take a minute or two, we would really appreciate it. Otherwise, there's all the usual stuff at Duckfeed.tv. You guys know the drill. We're super happy to have you, and we're looking forward to another 100. But that's
Yay!
it. So, Yeah. Let's see here. I think that's about it. Let's not prolong this, you guys. I just want to, again, thank everybody. Anybody else want to say anything directly to the listeners here?
They're awesome.
Get at me, yo.
Yeah.
It's late. I am so sorry.
I'm so sorry for what I
know
just
what
did.
that means.
Yeah.
Banter.
Banter. What I will say is, thanks to each of you who are on the line right now. I'm super happy with this. You know, we've been doing the show in some form or fashion for a very long time, and it is a tremendous part of my life, and I'm very happy to have this as a means to stay in contact with you guys and continue to grow our friendship every single week.
Yeah.
Second.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, so let's do the usual outro. I am Kole Ross at Kole Ross on Twitter. That's KOLEROSS.
That is not our usual outro. We do not usually spell things.
You
but
know.
At midnight. Cole.
I'm Dennis Furia at DFuria on Twitter. DFURIA.
I am David Moneysmith at Moneysmith777 on Twitter. That's MONEYSMITH 777.
I am the once and future Jala at Jala-chan on, around, and through Twitter, and I'm not spelling it, so there.
Thank you.
I am B at MERKEL at MERKELIZER on Twitter. And I feel like that's an Alt-J song.
And stick around for us talking about the title. Holy marathon, you guys.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for waiting it out. I know this is a late night. So I've got 6 potential titles. Okay.
Yay.
And if there are any that I missed, please submit them before we make a decision.
Centennial.
Okay, Centennial is a pretty good one. Let's put it there. Taking it back to Sesquicentennial.
Ooh.
Or remember that was that's what we called the 150th episode of DTR.
That seems like 100 episodes ago.
All right, so let's see here. NBA 2K14. You can't have God without smiting.
I like that.
Smite complete. The night is infinite.
Yeah, I like that.
A Hoover Town of the mind.
Yeah.
We don't spell things at midnight. Or Centennial.
Oh,
I kind of like Smite Complete or the Night is Infinite.
Yeah, I like the night is infinite as well.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I agree.
actually,
Also apropos of the recording, too.
Yeah.